What's up, Timmy Turners? We are back at it again with another reaction episode video, and today we are going to be watching by the weakness of Eri Akatsuki. Now, shout out to him. I be liking his Naruto videos. Like, if I want to find out some information and find out what's going on in Naruto shit, I go watch his channel because I kind of feel like he'd be like spitting some value points, and I did reacted like his videos on my channel before, so I will put his channel in the link in the description below, so go follow him if you're into Naruto shit. So yeah, we just gonna talk about, you know, every Akatsuki weakness, and let's just vibe out.
Every jutsu has a weakness, no matter how powerful it is. And if you think about it, the same logic can
He
be
did
applied
say
to
that.
shinobi themselves. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the greatest weakness of every Akatsuki member, because regardless of how broken and OP they are, they're going to have a weakness. Starting with Kakuzu. And this
Just like during the time when Naruto, Itachi, and Killer Bee was fighting Nagato, and he used planetary devastation in order to like stop that. You had to defeat the gravity shit. Wait, hold on.
This one is interesting because at first glance,
I love me some
Kakuzu is a very
Kakuzu.
complete shinobi that doesn't seem to have any major weaknesses. He's good at taijutsu, he's good at ninjutsu, he has 5 hearts that can work autonomously and use all 5 nature transformations.
That
His
was
ability
stolen
to
from the
use
other
those weird
shinobi.
wires and stretch his limbs can also be very useful in the battlefield, and also for other things like sewing things up, like Hidan's head and Deidara's arms. We've never seen Kakuzu dealing with genjutsu or casting genjutsu, so that's definitely not his speciality. So could genjutsu be his weakness? Well, it is by far his lowest stat in the data books. He has a 3 on genjutsu, but even though that's lower than his other stats,
But I kind of feel like he could use genjutsu if he steals somebody's hearts, because he did say that in the Naruto shit that he had 5 hearts that he stole from people. And my thing about it is, if you can control 5 chakra nature, don't you should unlock some type of Sage of the 6th Path power? I mean, I think it just that don't automatically work like that, but I mean, the 3rd Hokage, he can use like basically every chakra nature, so why he can't use like 6th Path shit? I'm confused. Man, the spacebar don't always work.
not exactly horrible, not by a long shot. And because we never see Kakuzu even interacting with any genjutsu in the entire series, we're gonna have to look for something else and dissect how Kakuzu was defeated time and time again. In the first fight between Asuma's team and Hidan when Asuma dies, Kakuzu's not really a player. He barely fights and obviously isn't defeated there. However, in the second fight, the one he has with Kakashi and the others, that's when Kakuzu begins to get tagged. And he gets tagged several times. The first time was when Kakashi catches him with a Raikiri from behind, and at the same time extracts Kakuzu's blood. Blood that would be very important later on, so that Shikamaru can fool Hidan into thinking he's got Shikamaru's blood, but use the ritual on Kakuzu instead, killing one of his hearts. After that, when Naruto and the others show up, Naruto manages to tag him twice with the Rasen Shuriken, only using 3 shadow clones as a distraction. And Kakuzu doesn't die the first time Naruto tags him with the Rasen Shuriken because the jutsu fizzles out because Naruto wasn't used to it. He had just learned the thing.
Exactly, so he had to use it again. Oh, fuck this damn ass.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right,
No.
$118 for car insurance. That's how much I was paying, okay? I picked...
Skip that shit. Skip that shit. Skip that shit.
We have to bear in mind that the second time Naruto hits Kakuzu with the Rasen Shuriken, he was coming from behind. And the Rasen Shuriken is extremely loud. It's like the loudest jutsu in the verse. The characters watching Naruto using the Rasen Shuriken for the first time even remark on how loud the thing is. And Kakuzu just didn't hear that he was coming from behind, and he got fooled by a single shadow clone. So with all that, I think we have the answer here, don't we? Kakuzu's main weakness is going to be his perception. He's caught behind by Kakashi's Raikiri, and he gets his blood extracted. He didn't see Kakashi coming from behind, and he doesn't notice his blood is being extracted, and then he doesn't notice Naruto coming with the Rasen Shuriken twice, the loudest jutsu in the series. In the war, things get even worse for Kakuzu when he gets tagged by Izumo and Kotetsu, impaling him with their blades, just like they impaled Hidan in their first exchange against their duo. They're 2 very inexpressive chunin, so getting tagged by them is not exactly a great feat for a Kakuzu over there. And you may say, well, how can Kaku's perception be horrible if he noticed Ino scouting on them using a bird with her mind transfer jutsu, and he also noticed Shikamaru's shadow
That's what I'm
possession
saying.
trailing them as they're walking through that forest. Well, he
Because I was
perceived
about to be like, so sensory abilities is not his strongest. Like, that's
those things, but maybe mid-battle, Kaku's perception gets a bit of a downgrade. He gets tunnel vision during a fight, and doesn't perceive very obvious attacks that are coming his way. When he noticed Ino and also Shikamaru's shadow possession, he was not fighting yet, so that would explain it. Moving on to Sasori, the greatest
I already
puppet
know
master
his
in the
weakness.
series. And Sasori is very powerful. His poison is extremely dangerous. He has access to hundreds of different puppets, and the human puppets as well.
And then
he
I've been
also
hearing people was saying like, "Oh, Sakura didn't really do too much during the fight." Yes, she did. Y'all just want to hate on her. Like, Sakura ain't all that fucking bad.
gets access to the most powerful puppet in the history of the Naruto-verse, which is the third Kazekage puppet. So his puppet master jutsu is insane, meaning he is really good at ninjutsu. You could say maybe taijutsu, right? But no, when he's quote-unquote doing taijutsu with his puppets, be it the Hiruko puppet, or even his own puppet with those swinging blades and that wire, his taijutsu was pretty alright. We don't know exactly how Sasori would behave against genjutsu, but I get the feeling it would be really hard to put him under a genjutsu because pretty much everything that you see when you look at Sasori is a puppet, meaning it's not his real body. Therefore, I think for you to cast a genjutsu and for it to work on Sasori, you'd have to hit the living core, which is the only living part of Sasori. Genjutsu would
They should
not
have done like a side episode about how he managed to do his body like that.
work on a puppet. It requires a living thing. So you'd have to hit the living core with a genjutsu, and most people don't know about it to begin with. So they're just cast regular genjutsu thinking they're gonna hit Sasori with it, and it's not gonna work. But Sasori has one glaring flaw in every single puppet of his, and that's gonna be their durability. If you think about it, Sasori got every single one of his puppets destroyed in the fight against Chio and Sakura. Well, maybe he had some more in reserve, but he got every single puppet he used against him destroyed, even his own body. And every single time Sakura manages to touch any of his puppets with her fists, it gets completely annihilated. The Hiruko puppet, which is supposed to be a more durable puppet with that shield on its back, completely destroyed by a single punch. The third Kazekage puppet, the strongest puppet of all time, destroyed with a single punch. One tapped. Several puppets in the army of 100 puppets, Sakura just wailed on them and destroyed them with a single punch. And yeah, obviously Sakura punches really hard, especially in Naruto Shippuden, but that's beginning of Shippuden Sakura. She doesn't have the Byakugo yet. Her punches are strong, but if you think about it from an Akatsuki perspective, and the level of power those shinobis reach, it's not that big of a deal. And Chio with the 10 Shikamatsu puppets essentially destroyed, what, 90 puppets in his army? And every time the Shikamatsu puppets used their jutsus and tapped any of Sasori's puppets, they were annihilated as well. So durability really is a problem for him. I guess the good thing about Sasori being so low in durability is that he has a lot of puppets, so you have to destroy all of them, or a lot of them.
And my thing
even
about
if
it
they're
is, all
kinda
them
easy to
puppets
destroy.
that you
Now,
see, they
if
used
you
to be
have very
humans, right?
large-scale jutsu, like Data's C3 that he tossed in the Sand Village, then he could just destroy every single puppet at the same time, which wouldn't be good for Sasori. So that's a glaring flaw in his arsenal and his weakness. Moving on to Kisame, and this one is interesting, because Kisame is an absolute unit. He has the largest chakra reserve in the entire Akatsuki. He has amazing taijutsu and kenjutsu. He has amazing ninjutsu. By far the best and strongest water
I
style
don't know,
user in
yeah,
the
I don't know
series,
about
and
his
Samehara
weakness.
just makes the guy broken. He has the ability to steal chakra and get it to himself and heal his wounds with it. Kisame's pretty damn quick as well, even though he's large. So I actually had to think a lot about what Kisame's weakness would be. Maybe
And let's
he's
be
a short
honest, the man is black. He's a black
be
nigga.
without weakness, but no, he actually has one. I first thought about Earth style because Earth release is strong against water release, you know, in the Naruto chart of elemental jutsus, and because Kisame uses so much water style and relies so much on it, I thought maybe, you know, the strong jutsu against it would be his weakness, but I don't really think so. Yeah, Earth may be good against water. We don't even see Earth and water interacting very much in the series, so we can't really say, much less against Kisame. And that'd be kind of a weird answer. Now, maybe you could also say Kisame's variety is not great, because he only has water style, so if water style doesn't work against his opponent, he's kind of screwed, but the size of the water style jutsus he has, like, they're so big, so over the top and powerful if he wants them to be, that it doesn't really matter if you only have water style. It's gonna be a nightmare for you to deal with regardless. And he still has Samehara and the ability to steal chakra if water style doesn't work. And that's when I remembered Itachi's scene when he got to Kabuto's cave, and Kabuto's like, oh, this jutsu, the Edo Tensei, it's unstoppable, it has no weaknesses. And Itachi said, it does have a weakness. It is me. Because Kisame has something kind of similar going on for him. His weakness is not exactly a concept or a type of ability or something that he lacks. Kisame's weakness is my guy, or I guess you could say extremely powerful.
Yeah, he was so desperate to get my guy to remember him. Like, I kind of feel like he had a little bit of a thing up towards my guy, no shade.
Taijutsu beyond the level of a regular shinobi. And we can see that every time my guy encounters Kisame, because my guy comes out on top in all 3 encounters. Now granted, the first one in Naruto Part 1 wasn't a major fight, he only kicked Kisame once and stopped the battle between Itachi, Kisame, Kakashi, Yasuo, and Kurenai. But in the second fight against the body double, my guy used the Asakujaku, the Morning Peacock, and essentially one-tapped the guy.
Oh, come on.
This war reaches beyond.
Not one tap because he had to land several of those fiery punches, but he did defeat the body double. And in their third fight, when Kisame uses his most powerful jutsu, the Great Water Shark Bomb, a jutsu that's capable of swallowing incoming ninjutsu and use its power to bolster itself and become even more powerful, my guy used Hirodora against it. And Kisame thought, oh, it's GG, my jutsu is going to swallow his jutsu.
That's not chakra.
However, that's not exactly what happened because my guy did not use ninjutsu against him because my guy is not really good at ninjutsu. He used taijutsu. The Hirodora is a manifestation of my guy's youthful will and raw physical power. It's not something the Great Shark Bomb could swallow and redirect against Guy. So the Hirodora blasted through
I thought his orb was his blood. Ain't that was his blood?
Kisame's jutsu and defeated him. And my guy was the only person in the world that
He
could
said,
have done
"Don't
something
move,"
like
and
that
he's
to
happy.
Kisame. The guy took care of tail beasts as easily as you have breakfast, but my guy was too much for him. So yeah, my guy is Kisame's weakness. That's the best answer. Moving on to Hidan. And Hidan, let's be real here, has several weaknesses.
Oh, Hidan. Like, I know his weakness. His weakness is his ritual. Symbol that he had to stand on, and if he moved out of the symbol, that his jutsu won't work on other people. So that's
First of all, he's by far the dumbest Akatsuki member with the lowest battle IQ. We can see how easily Shikamaru trapped him and took advantage of his powers. Jutsu variety is also a problem because if you figure out Hidan's jutsu, he can be pretty easy to defeat. If you know you cannot get your blood taken away and let Hidan set up the ritual, Hidan is kind of useless.
But he
also
had to stand
doesn't have
on
many
the mark, though.
long-range options. Sure, he can throw his scythe with that weird rope made of
He got
metal.
killed
That's
by
not
a white
amazing. And
nigga.
Hidan himself even says that he is the
Asama is
slowest
a
member
black
of the
man.
Akatsuki when Kaksu and Hidan are introduced. So Hidan has several glaring weaknesses, but he is also immortal, and his jutsu is not exactly easy to decipher. Moving on to Deidara, and Deidara's a very difficult one. People underestimate how powerful the guy is.
Wow, that was quick on Hidan.
But Deidara, there isn't a single shinobi in the world that would like to fight against him simply because of the jutsus he have access to. C4, come on, that's insanely broken. C0 even, or even his lower jutsus like C1's, the C2 Dragon, and the C3. Deidara's also very fast, even though people don't think about it like that. He managed to keep up with Hebi Sasuke, which is no small feat, and he also kept up with Kaze Kagegara as they flew in the sky over the sand village, and Gaara was using his fastest sand, and he kept up with Team Guy with
Ultimate
no arms,
Storm
using
2
a
of that
with his
Storm mode
mouth.
gameplay,
In
that was amazing.
Taijutsu, against the best Taijutsu team in the Leaf Village. So even when it comes to Taijutsu itself, Deidara is nothing to scoff at. He also trained himself to be good at detecting and countering genjutsu because of Itachi, because he wanted to prove his art was better than Itachi's, as he saw Itachi's jutsu as beautiful and therefore as art. Sure, it didn't work. Sasuke's
Storm Revolution introduced me to that part right there. Oh, that was a good game.
jutsu genjutsu still
Oh,
caught him,
I
and
love
he fell
Storm
prey
Revolution.
to the Sharingan. However, it would have worked against most genjutsu. It's just that the Sharingan is really powerful at genjutsu itself, so I wouldn't say that was a weakness. It's just that Sasuke bested him. A more clear weakness that we see in the fight against Sasuke is going to be Lightning Style, which Sasuke used to defuse his clay bombs. That saved Sasuke's life
yeah, I
more
forgot
than
about
once,
that.
especially when Sasuke deactivated the nano explosives from the C4. So you could say Lightning Style is definitely going to be Data's weakness. However, I would like to mention another one as well, and this one is much more mental, which is going to be Data's ego, because of his stubbornness when it comes to his art, saying that his is better than anybody else, and his inability to accept other people's
I mean,
art.
he be arguing with his partner Sorcery about who art is better.
Or jutsus is beautiful, he becomes blindsided. And that's what actually allows Sasuke to win the fight against him, not understanding that there could be art that rivals or that is better than his. But yeah, overall,
To be honest, he won the
moving
fight
on to
because
Conan.
Data
This one's also interesting because you may not think of Conan
Off
as
himself.
really damn powerful because she's overshadowed by Pain pretty much her entire career, but her paper ninjutsu can be very strong and versatile. Also, she has the paper ocean she used against Obito.
I mean, her weakness
That's
is water.
extremely massive. She's very clever, being able to catch Obito off guard twice, and she has a very good jutsu that essentially negates
I like
attacks
Kono.
because she can turn her body into paper, and most attacks are just not gonna work. Kind of like how Suigetsu turns his body into water. But we can clearly see what her weakness is when
Right.
Jiraiya invades the Rain Village and essentially one-shots Conan. Jiraiya spits some oil on her, and that stops Conan in her tracks. After that, she can't move anymore, and he easily catches her with his hair. And that's because the oil doesn't allow Conan to split apart with her several papers, so she can't use her abilities very well. It essentially completely shuts her down, which is the best thing you can think of, and a very glaring weakness. So much so that when Pain arrives in the battlefield with the animal path, he uses his crab to spit soap around so Conan can get drenched in it and essentially clean herself off of the oil. Moving on to number 7, we have Zetsu. And this one is kind of easy. Zetsu's
Yeah,
main
his weakness is
just that
everything.
he's not a very strong fighter, and he himself admits that. Oh, I'm just the intel guy. I collect information and I eat corpses when
And
I
he
have
hides,
to. Yeah, if
exactly.
you remember, that did happen in the Kazekage Rescue
I mean, he
War.
really don't do much though. And can he use a little bit of a wood style?
At the very end of it, when he ate the body doubles that the Leaf team's defeated.
maybe I'm
the
just
guy's not
tripping.
a very strong fighter, and that's obviously a glaring weakness. Moving on to Orochimaru. This is also a very interesting one, because at first glance, it doesn't look like Orochimaru has much of a weakness. His powerful ninjutsu, taijutsu, and even genjutsu we see in the Forest of Death, when he used the genjutsu on Sasuke and Sakura and they saw their deaths. He has the Edo Tensei, he's very versatile as well.
can do
Maybe you could
anything.
say his genjutsu is not that powerful, and he gets caught by genjutsu very easily because of how he did against Itachi and Sasuke and how they used genjutsu against him. But let's be real here, it's Itachi and Sasuke. 99.9% of the shinobi world would have been caught by that genjutsu. And later on, he's again humiliated by Itachi as he's sealed by the Totsuka blade. Now, I guess you could say one of Orochimaru's weaknesses is going to be the fact that he needs a new body every 3 years or so if he doesn't find a perfect vessel.
die.
And as his body begins to decay, he gets less and less powerful and less effective in battle. When Orochimaru fights against Naruto's version 2 Ninetales, he is doing pretty well in the beginning,
was
even
struggling
without his
fighting
arms,
Naruto. He
because
was
Hiruzen
struggling.
sealed him in part 1, obviously. But towards the end of the fight, he's panting, he's sweating, and he's like, oh my god, my body's beginning to fail me. I have to get out of here. And if Orochimaru doesn't find a suitable body in time, he can wither away and die, and as he's very weak, he can be taken advantage of, just like Sasuke did by attacking Orochimaru in his deathbed, essentially. But that's a very circumstantial weakness, right? Because Orochimaru is not gonna be weakening like that all the time. For, let's say, 2.5 years of that particular body that Orochimaru is inhabiting, he's gonna be at pretty good condition. So
Softer, firmer, your call. Only at Sleep Number.
Look, switching to T-Mobile 5G home internet was worth it for the speed alone. My patience ain't built like that.
That part.
So, would Orochimaru have another weakness in that time? I would say yes, and this one is also going to be kind of like the Itachi weakness. And it's kind of going to be Itachi himself. Not Itachi exactly, but the Sharingan. As we see time and time again, Orochimaru
Oh
trying
yeah,
to...
I remember that. I saw a clip that somebody was covering why Itachi can't switch to Sharingan, and then he said something about, oh, he can't because every Sharingan has some type of disease. Am I hearing that right?
To get his
I
hand
know
on
I'm
the
not
Sharingan and failing because the Sharingan is simply too powerful for him. When he tries to catch Itachi in the flashback, Itachi just uses a casual genjutsu on him, cuts his hand off and says, "There's no jutsu you can use on me that's gonna work against these eyes." And the same thing happens when he tries to take over Sasuke's body. He reverses guard Orochimaru and takes over Orochimaru instead, absorbing him and taking
That
Orochimaru's
looked like
snake
Godzilla.
abilities. When he emerges out of Sasuke during the Itachi vs Sasuke fight, he thinks he's going to win the fight against Itachi now, but he gets destroyed by the
Tosca
Tosca
blade.
blade with the Susanoo, which is a staple
Tosca
Sharingan jutsu. And in the work, even though Orochimaru himself doesn't fight against any Sharingan user, Kabuto essentially is Orochimaru for all intents and purposes. He's trying to take the exact same steps Orochimaru would have taken if he was alive. That was the point of Kabuto's character. He was following the steps of the man he idolized because he had lost himself in the way, and he would have to eventually find himself back and realize he's not Orochimaru. He obviously had Orochimaru's powers and Orochimaru's appearance, so for all intents and purposes, Kabuto was Orochimaru, and he lost to the Sharingan, which very well fits this theme of the Sharingan always winning against Orochimaru. So yeah, the Sharingan is gonna be Orochimaru's main weakness. Moving on to Itachi Uchiha. Itachi's borderline the perfect shinobi
He
with
passed away from
insanely
disease.
powerful genjutsu, taijutsu, and ninjutsu. The Mangekyo Sharingan grants him with a few of the most
Because the
powerful
Sharingan, it
abilities in
takes
the
too
series.
much of your
Tsukiyomi
chakra.
Amaterasu and Susanoo with the Tosca blade and the Yaramir. He's one of the most intelligent characters of the series, with probably the highest battle IQ in the series as well. But
And
it's
let's be
actually
honest, like I almost forgot to mention this, but his death was the saddest death of the whole. Like, was one of the his death is the saddest death of the whole Naruto series. I'm sorry, one of the saddest deaths. Like, and I couldn't blame Sasuke feeling how he feeling when he found out that the village was using Itachi as a pawn to protect the village. So Sasuke decided to take the leaf as revenge. I was like, I wouldn't blame him. But I feel RIP to Itachi.
very easy to pinpoint Itachi's weakness, and everybody knows it, right? It's a big plot point revolving Itachi's fights, and that's going to be Itachi's stamina. Some could say his chakra pull, but his chakra pull is not exactly horrible. People tend to underestimate how much chakra Itachi has. Now,
But my
obviously,
thing about it is, I feel like Sasuke didn't understand what Itachi was doing. Like, I think Itachi know that the Leaf Village wanted to use him to protect the village, but that's not how Sasuke took it. So,
to have as much chakra as Nagato or Kisame or Naruto or Hashirama. But if you take a look at the fight against Sasuke, he uses a lot of jutsus, including Mangekyo Sharingan jutsu several times. And when he dies, his Susanoo was still activated. He dies because of his disease, not because he ran out of chakra. His Susanoo only disappears and fizzles out after his death. So he still had
My
chakra
husband
when he
didn't
died,
take
even though
it,
he's
he's
either
gone.
blind. The problem is going to be, naturally, his stamina. And this problem gets even worse when Itachi gets this mysterious shinobi disease, or whatever disease that's gonna be, that makes him puke blood and eventually kills him. The recoil
But
damage
don't
Itachi
every
takes from
Sharingan-
his
every
Mangekyo
Uchiha
Sharingan
have a
ability
disease,
seems to be
right?
higher than the recoil damage Sasuke takes when he gets the Mangekyo. Sure, he feels pain, he clutches his eyes, but Itachi sort of kneels on the ground and pukes blood, and maybe that's because of his disease as well. He wasn't keeling over nearly as much in Naruto Part 1 when he uses Mangekyo, even though he used it less than Shippuden in the fight against Sasuke. But yeah, Itachi's stamina is going to be his main issue here. Moving on to
yeah,
Nagato.
I mean, you could say the
Select
same thing about Sasuke and Sauter from Boruto. Like,
pain. And this one is difficult because among the 6 paths of pain, Nagato has essentially everything covered, right? Extremely powerful jutsus, powerful summons, the
now
ability
Pain,
to...
I feel like I know about his weakness. Like, you had to defeat them by order. You can't just skip. You have to defeat them by order. Like, I think that's his weakness.
protect himself with...
First, you have to
super
defeat the other pain that bring people back to life. You have to defeat that one, and then you have to defeat the other pain that absorb chakra. Like, it's a pattern here.
and even the Predapath absorbing ninjutsu is just so broken. The Osteropath with the missiles,
And
the
then you
ability
could
to
defeat
read
him
people's
next, yeah.
minds, and even the ability to resurrect other paths within the Rakapath. He has a shared field of view with a Rinnegan, which makes it very difficult for you to fight against several of them at once, and several of them are pretty good at taijutsu as well. Maybe you could say their durability isn't great, because Naruto one-taps several
I want to
of those
know how
paths of pain.
Tsunade would have
Konohamaru
been if
one-taps
he
the
would have
Rakapath with his Rasengan, even though he doesn't actually kill it, because if Konohamaru had killed an Rakapath, then it couldn't have resurrected other paths in the fight against Naruto, for example.
See?
So I suppose that Rasengan just wounded
We're
him.
on that bag, see? I'm sorry.
Even though he doesn't actually kill it, because if Konohamaru had killed an Rakapath, then it couldn't have resurrected other paths in the fight against Naruto, for example. So I suppose that Rasengan just wounded him. But
See?
some paths are much more durable, like the Deva path, and because the
But
Rakapath...
good thing Lady Katsuya told him about it. Because if Naruto would have just fight them all willy-nilly, I kind of felt like he would have lost.
has the ability to bring them back. Their durability isn't that big of an issue. Nagato's problem, his main weakness is going to be something else, and he essentially tells us when he fights against Jiraiya, or should I say after he kills Jiraiya. There's that famous line of the Deva Path saying, "Oh, if Jiraiya knew our secret, we would have been done for." And a lot of people take that line out of context and do no analysis on it and just say, "Oh yeah, Jiraiya could have beaten the Six Paths." But no, that line is not referring to something Jiraiya could have done to defeat the Six Paths of Pain in battle, even though Jiraiya defeated 3 of them. And you could say maybe Genjutsu would be a weakness here as well, because those 3 paths were caught by a Nodotori Genjutsu. Now,
that's not really Jiraiya Genjutsu if you really think about
The thing
it.
about me and money is, I haven't really focused on it. Squirrel! I'm all about projects I love.
Now, if I'm being very honest, I think pretty much anybody would have been caught by that jutsu if they heard it. It takes some time for Fukasaku and Shima to sync up their singing, but once they do, I don't think you can escape it if you listen to
Yeah,
it.
you
Because
can-
sure, Fukasaku comes up with this plan of, oh, okay, if we can't hit them with ninjutsu because one of the guys absorbs it, and we can't hit them with taijutsu,
Like, that just, like, the, frog Genjutsu, that reminds me of the, girl with the flute that, cast her. It just like the same thing with sound.
because they have their shared field of view, let's just use Genjutsu. Which seems reasonable, and it does work. So maybe you could say Genjutsu weakness, but that Genjutsu specifically is so powerful, I would say maybe it's not that it's a weakness, but it's that the Genjutsu itself is too strong, and it would have caught probably most people in the verse. The actual secrets and the weakness Pain was referring to when he said Jiraiya could have defeated him if he'd known, is the fact that Nagato is controlling the 6 paths of pain from afar, and Nagato's real body is very frail and vulnerable. And also that the 6 paths of pain are usually just sleeping in those sleeping pods, and if Jiraiya caught them without Pain realizing that he had infiltrated the village, he could have just destroyed every single path and made his way to Nagato that's very vulnerable.
That's what
and
I'm
can't even
saying.
walk.
Like, his information, he didn't have too much information to, like, do this type of mission. So I kind of feel like he could have just regrouped and tell Tsunade, and then Jiraiya could go back and, yeah, I kind of feel like that's what he should have done.
Sure, when Naruto shows up to confront Nagato, he tosses one of those Rinnegan rods that pierces Naruto, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna control you now," and he's impressed, and Naruto resists it, so most people wouldn't be able to resist that. But that's a last line of defense, and it's not very reliable because you can dodge a thing like that, right? Now, maybe you could say Nagato's body could have summoned the Ghetto Mazo, or actually used the 6 paths of pain by himself if the other 6 paths had been defeated, but naturally he's very vulnerable, and Konan is gonna be next to him at all times if there's something dangerous happening around, so Nagato's real body is gonna be his weakness. Moving on to Obito, and this one is very tough because Obito is famously very difficult to hit at all. With his phasing combo, he can essentially get out of trouble in any situation, on top of having Izanagi if there's something really problematic he has to deal with, something that is going to counter his Kamui. He's essentially unkillable. Konan got close, but then again, not really because of Izanagi. Obito's a master of Genjutsu, being able to control Yagura for years on years. His taijutsu is great. He kept up with Minato when he was 14 years old. Maybe you could say his variety isn't great, especially
He
in
looked
his
like an
Toby
adult.
version because he doesn't have the chains that he used against Minato anymore. He doesn't use his wood style that he used against the Mist Shinobi anymore. But honestly, he can take care of pretty much anybody just by touching them and comboing them into the Kami dimension and just waiting for them to starve in there. I suppose you could say Obito's weakness is going to be his own Kamui when Kakashi uses it to counter his Kamui. But that's so specific specific, and even though Kakashi used his Kamui against Obito's Kamui several times, being able to hit Obito several times with it, he still didn't defeat him. Now sure, when Kakashi got Kamui'd into the Kamui dimension by Kurama's plan so that Kakashi could just attack Obito from inside Kamui without Obito being able to react, Kakashi just punched Obito. He didn't Raikiri him or do anything like that. He didn't kill Obito because he didn't have the guts to do it at that specific time, so I suppose that could have ended Obito right then and there. So that is a very powerful weakness that Obito's Kamui is going to have. But even though that's a weakness to his phasing Kamui, he can still do very powerful things. I would say a more general weakness for Obito is going to be his mind. Obito is one of the most weak-minded characters in the entire series. When he wears his Madara persona, he has more mental fortitude. However, once the mask falls off, he becomes unbearably whiny and kind of annoying about Rin. Every single conversation he has, especially with Kakashi, goes back to Rin, which is a massive chip on his shoulder, and it's essentially what defeats him in his Ten Tails version because his will wavers, and so the Sword of Naboko wavers as well, and the Susanoo sword breaks it. So Obito's mind is going to be his main weakness. If you want to find out why every Akatsuki member deserted their village, click on this video right here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the